Hi everyone, I'm Tim Van Orden and this is Start Here. Today I want to talk about dealing with overwhelm. Those moments where it seems like there's a flood of stuff coming into your life and you just can't possibly keep up. At first you're standing there and the water starts rising up to your ankles, and that really sucks because now your shoes are ruined, but then it's up to your knees, it's up to your thighs, and you're trying to walk and it's really difficult, and then it's up to your chest and you can barely move. And before you know it, it's right up to your mouth and you start to float a little bit, but you can't take a deep breath anymore and you start to panic. Those to-do lists keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and your ability to handle the items on those lists keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And you reach a point where you start to go down, you start to panic, you start flailing about in the water, flailing about in your life. There's just too much. You can't keep up. And this has happened to me on a regular basis in my life, and I see this happening to a lot of people all the time. Life doesn't wait for you. Life just keeps coming. It just keeps coming. It just keeps coming. It doesn't wait to see if you're ready. Hold on, are you ready? Because we'll wait. We'll hold this stuff back until you're ready to handle it. No. Life doesn't care. Life just keeps pouring. The current moment. That current is always flowing. And if you're not ready to keep up with it, you could drown. And here's how that happens. We attach our identity to the things that we've got going on in our life, to our goals, to our circumstances, to the things that we need to get done, to the things we dream about, to the things we think we should do, to the things that people tell us we need to be doing. We attach our self-worth and our identity to these things. We take them in. We say, this is us. These circumstances are me. This situation is me. It's life or death that I get it done, that I deal with it, because it's me. My entire identity is riding on this, so I need to deal with it. I need to get it done. And when you do this, when you take this outside stuff and you make it a part of you or attach your identity to it, in a sense, what you're doing is inhaling the water, which is how you drown. If you're in water and you're flailing about, but you haven't inhaled it yet, if you haven't breathed that water in yet, you're not drowning yet. You're just flailing about in the water. But the moment you breathe that water in, that's when you start to drown. The moment you take that outside environment, which is not compatible with who you really are, and bring it in to you, to your core, that's when all hell breaks loose. And the moment you start attaching your identity to all of these shoulds and tasks and projects and saying, this is who I am, and my self-worth and my character are based on this stuff, that's the moment you start to fall apart emotionally and mentally. When you start drowning yourself by inhaling and taking in all that stuff from the outside, rather than being an autonomous unit that moves through the world and through circumstances, you start saying, I am the circumstances. And this always happens to me. I'm always like this. I never do that. People always do this. People never do that. You start to see yourself as part of this thing, part of the water. So why not inhale the water? It's who I am anyways. This me and the water, they're indistinguishable. Well, that's how you drown, by not seeing that distinction, by not seeing that you're separate from the water. You can move through the water, but the moment you try to become part of the water, you die. So what do you do when the level of water in your life has risen up to here and you're having a really hard time breathing? You're having a really hard time functioning. You're having a really hard time seeing anything other than the water and the fact that you can't function in it. Well, asking for help is a real problem, because most people are going to look out and say, why don't you just swim? Why are you panicking? Why are you freaking out? Just swim. Well, when someone's in panic mode, they can't hear that. They can't learn. Drowning people are incapable of learning. And others that aren't drowning don't get this. But when you're in a state of fight or flight, your prefrontal cortex, your smart, cognitive, rational brain up here in the front, it shuts off. And your more primitive limbic system wakes up, your amygdala wakes up, and your fight or flight system is fully engaged, and it even has a preferential blood flow, which means that the back part of your brain, the more primitive part of your brain, is getting most of the blood now, and there's very little blood going up here, just enough to keep it alive, but not enough to allow you to reason or think or learn. So when people are drowning, they can't learn. And those people in your life that want to help you don't understand this. So they try to teach you when you're drowning, and that doesn't work. And then they get frustrated because they're like, this person doesn't want help. I'm trying to help them. They don't want it. I'm teaching them how to swim, and they're not interested. They're not paying attention. They're not even trying. And they blame the person that's drowning for drowning instead of offering help, maybe getting in the water with them and saying, here, let me lead you to shore. But that seldom happens. It's a rare person that will get in the water with you, which is called compassion. They'll get in that water, they'll go up to here themselves, and they'll grab your hand or your shoulder, and they'll guide you to shore. And they say, wow, yeah, you're right, this sucks. Let's move towards shore here, let me help you. But again, it's really rare that someone will do that. More often than not, you're going to get advice. So what can you do? You're all alone, you're drowning, you're freaking out, you're starting to inhale the water, you're starting to inhale all the drama in your life, and you're going down. What do? You breathe out. Because the moment you breathe out, you become heavier, because air is buoyant. Hope is buoyant. And we have this hope. We're trying to keep up there. We're trying to stay above the line of the water, and there's the sun, and there's the blue sky, and I hope, please, hope, air, keep me buoyant. Well, we got to let go of that. We got to breathe out. We've got to give up hope. We've got to exhale. And we've got to let ourselves sink. Because when most people drown, they don't drown in the middle of the ocean or the middle of a lake. Most people drown really close to shore. Because they haven't had water up to here for a long time. They just suddenly got out there, and their toes may only be this far off the bottom. So if you allow yourself to sink to the bottom, now you're on solid ground. And you can walk yourself towards the shore. And this is something I've had to do again and again and again. To breathe out, let myself hit bottom, which is the healing power of depression. I'm not saying depression is always healing, but it occurs for a reason, and one of those reasons is to put you down onto solid ground. But as long as you keep hope inside of a depression, it's very hard to function because you don't let yourself touch bottom. And that's where your strength is. Your strength is on the ground. We are creatures of the earth. We are most powerful when we are on solid ground. But when we're up in the air with these hopes and these dreams and these fantasies, we can float further and further away from the shore, hoping that someone's going to save us, or hoping that we'll suddenly learn how to swim. But a drowning man can't learn. And hope does float, and that's the problem. It'll float you away from shore. So the first thing you've got to do is exhale, breathe out, give up hope, stop trying to float, stop trying to swim, stop trying to deal with all the stuff in your life. Don't try to fix it, don't try to get through it, just let yourself sink in it. Find the solid ground underneath it. The longer you try to fight and keep up and manage and handle, the worse things are going to get. The deeper that water's going to be, and the further from shore you're going to be. So breathe out and let yourself sink. Don't try to handle it. The drama in your life isn't just going to magically go away. You still need to deal with it, but you need to deal with it in a calm, comfortable, safe place on dry land where you can get the help of other people and where you're not drowning or in a panic. You can't deal with it while you're in the middle of it, while you're inhaling it. You're just going to keep drowning. You've got to separate yourself. You've got to get some perspective. Okay? So I know it's scary, but you got to breathe out. You got to give up hope. You got to let yourself sink and then walk yourself towards shore. That's the only way to deal with it. I hope that's of value to you. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to deal with that water. Now that you're safely on dry land, I'm going to show you how to deal with that big pond or ocean that you've created and how to find out what's really, truly important in your life. Okay? All right. I love you. Bye.